as it comes out. They've got very strong maternal instincts, elephant, and I've never known of them to leave their youngsters behind. Maybe Brent or Scott might know an answer to that. I've never heard of it. I've never read about it. I've never seen it, actually. But that is just cuteness overload. I'm so glad we managed to find it again. You see how gently and slowly the mum is walking. Lots of reassurance going on there for the baby. Okay, so from our cuteness overload, we're going to race back up north to see what the Nkuhumas are doing. And while we do that, let's go over to that lovely little bundle of joy.
Well, that sounded absolutely wonderful with Steve and that little baby Eddie. Not too much has changed here. This cub is still doing its best to devour as much of this carcass as it can. And Senzo's just showing off his fancy camera work here, doing the focus pull. Quite an artsy move. From the grass seeds in the foreground back to this cute little leopard in the background. Now, Steve's question regarding elephants rejecting or kind of abandoning their young calves, I've never heard of it happening myself. It's not to say that it hasn't happened, and I'd be surprised if in the whole continent of Africa that there hasn't been a bad mother elephant, but I'm sure it's not the norm. And I'm guessing the only time that an elephant may do that is maybe in times of drought, when, you know, she may give birth, while the herd is doing a big march from one water point to another, or one point of food to another, where they may need to abandon a calf because it can't keep up. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but I don't think it's the norm, and I don't know of any confirmed stories of that actually happening. Now, sadly, we can't really reposition. If you have just jumped on board, oh, did the cub just go bounding off there? And I think it may have just run off, so back towards Mum. Can't be certain though. Puma, you'd like to know if young leopards will ever have the terrible 2 syndrome. I'm guessing that's when a human is 2 years old, they start becoming a nightmare. I guess, yeah, there could be, some kind of, period. It won't be at 2 years old, because by then they'll often be away from their mother. But, it looks like, I think Mom now is dragging the carcass away. Oh, it's the cub dragging the carcass. No ways. Jeez. You go, girl. How cool is this? It's taking the kill to Mommy. Difficult to see, but that is what's happening. Let's try and reposition now, because they're far enough away from us to allow for us to move without bothering them. Pradeep, you'd like to know if... Ooh, sorry, Thandi, I didn't realize you were right here. Thanks, Sans. So, Mom is right here. I was busy looking over closer towards where the cub was. And it looks like the cub is still making its way to Mom, so let's try and wait in a good spot here. I think this is as good as it will get for the time being without getting in their way. And... hello, Mama. I think you're about to get some room service from your baby. It appears like she's bringing you a gift. So, Pradeep, no, I'm sorry if I don't think I continued answering your question, because I nearly ran over Thandi. Wouldn't have been very popular. So, I don't think the cub will necessarily choke. Of course, there is a small chance. Oh, here it comes. How cool is this? What a scene. It's so big, and you're so strong. You're practicing to be a big adult leopard, practicing your carcass dragging skills, and it's very important for leopards to be able to drag carcasses because they often don't necessarily make the kill next to a tree. Well, she's got close to Mom now, and it looks like she may come over to say hello. Hello, isn't this wonderful? And I think this would now be a good time for us to possibly welcome on board some extra viewers. So this is just too special not to share with as many people as possible. If you guys would like to be so kind and pick up your phones and phone a friend and tell them to log on, we would appreciate that too. Looks like I think it's going back to the kill. Maybe it's going to drag it a little bit closer to Mom again. I hope she does. We'll have such a great view from here. No, changed her mind. Okay, I'm just going to keep quiet for a second just before we have to welcome on the others. Hello everyone, and welcome to this live safari coming to you from the Sabi Sands in South Africa. As you can see, we've got a tiny little leopard cub. She's just gone about 4 months of age, and her and her mother are busy enjoying lounging about. Oh, where's Mom gone? Oh, there's Mom. And they've got a kill. There you can see Mom's carrying a antelope. It was a baby Inyala that they caught. And we just couldn't resist welcoming you guys on board to see this awesome scene unfold. We've been very, very lucky in that we've followed the life of this cub quite closely since it was born, and it's been absolutely fascinating to see how it's grown and developed and matured over the last few months. Very good. Well, my name's Scott, and like I said, this is a live safari. If you don't believe that it's live, just question us and we'll get back to you immediately to solve that problem. And like I said, we would love to hear from you. Send through as many questions and comments as you can. Just pop them in the comment box below. Now, it is a little bit tricky. It's quite thick here. It's summer here in South Africa, and it's very, very lush after we've got some much needed rains a couple of weeks ago. Perfect environment for these leopards to sneak up on their prey undetected, but makes our lives a little bit tricky. Hello to one of our biggest fans, Kirsty McLennan-Smith. Here's a little treat for you, Kirsty. She's just gone on leave, and I hope you're having a wonderful time already. Well, it doesn't get better than this. A young cub practicing its tree climbing skills, and I hope it just pops itself into a clearer spot for us to get some better visuals. I'm sure it's going to be full of energy this evening. Luke, you would like to know if this is a fresh kill. Well, we found the kill this morning at around, I'd guess about 8 a.m. It's just going on 6 p.m. at the moment, and when we found the kill, it had already been half eaten. So I'm guessing it was made in the very early hours of this morning, but can't be 100% sure, just a guesstimate. Kathy, you've just said what a beauty, and she certainly is, this little girl, and you'd like to know how long will she be with her mother for. Well, on average it's around 18 months that a leopardess will spend with its cub. Oh, it looks like the kill's in two portions. Now Mom's carrying back another piece. That just looks like one leg. Interesting. And yeah, Kathy, around 18 months of age, the mother will start forcing the cubs out so that she can give birth to the next litter. But it can happen as early as 12 months of age. Well, Rama in India, great to have you with us. And Kevin in Ireland, we've got people all over the world joining us, and isn't it absolutely awesome that we can share these scenes with you? Anthony in Scotland, and it really is an absolutely awesome thing that we can go about these safaris with you guys right next to us in real time. It doesn't get any better. Nancy in London, you'd like to know how far away are we from these leopards? Well, I would say no more than 10 meters at the most from where that cub just disappeared off into the thickets. And it must be said that this is one of the best places in the world to view leopard. There are various places in Africa where you get the high leopard densities like you get here. But most importantly, the leopards have been habituated through very gentle management and good safari protocol over the last 40 or 50 years that this reserve has been operational. The leopards have become accustomed to us as humans. I just swallowed a bug. So now I've got it in my mouth, but I'm just going to continue talking and pretend it's not there. Maybe I should... There it is. There's the little bug. Shame. Suicide bug. Let's try and reposition to get you a better view. I'm worried though that they've just disappeared into a very thick area. Okay. Terry, you'd like to know if I ever fear for my own safety, and yes, I certainly have on a number of events felt very scared out here, but as a general rule, the animals are more scared of us than we are of them, and they will avoid us at all costs. So as long as you kind of take the basic precautions, you're generally not going to get yourself into any trouble. Okay. So yeah, as long as you look into and listen to any warnings or kind of distress and body language with the animals, they'll very often leave you be. And Neil, you just said Mom must trust us because she's letting us get very close. And yes, she's been exposed to a lot of vehicles and a lot of humans in her life. She is approaching... How old is Thandi now? I've just forgotten, but she's not young. I think she's about 11 years of age. So she's had a lot of experience, and from when she was a little cub, I'm sure, just like her cub now, is getting exposed to the vehicles and the fact that we are not a danger to them. They will pass on that kind of feeling to their youngsters, and that's why it's very important that we do spend a lot of time with leopards like this when they do have youngsters, so that we just reassure them that we are not going to interfere, we're not going to harm them, we're not going to steal their food, we just want to spectate. And as a general rule, if you do that with wild animals, over time you'll almost become invisible to them, and they'll go about their business with very little notice of our presence. She's probably only around 4 or 5 meters from our vehicle at the moment. Angela and Danielle, you would like to know the lifespan of these animals and how long will they breed for? Well, there's a few rare cases of these animals making it into their 20s, but that's specifically the females living that long. The males tend to not live as long. They live a more kind of aggressive and brutal life and tend to die at a younger age. But, you know, if a leopard makes it to 15 years of age, it's had a very good innings. So she's still got a few more years in her, and usually the leopards will continue to give birth right until their last possible stages. Well, guys, what an absolute treat. I'm very happy that we got to show you some glimpses of this leopardess and her cute little cub from people dotted all around the planet. And it's been a great privilege sharing these scenes with you. If you'd like to continue watching, we're still going to be on safari for another half an hour this evening, and we would love you guys to join us. So you can just Google Safari Live and find us there, and make sure you just keep tuned into the notifications so you don't miss out on any further action that may unfold in the coming days. See you next time. Okay, everyone, back to our regular old faithfuls. Looks like she's trying to bury the two portions of the carcass there. I'm wondering if she's not wanting to head off for a drink. I'm hoping she decides to do that, or she can just go and perch herself up on that log. That also works quite well. I think the cub's possibly going to pop up next to her, so let's just give it a second here. The cub is about to... It was heading towards her, and I'm hoping it's going to jump onto that log next to her. Where are you, Junior? Okay, well, we'll be sure to call you back as soon as that cub does come into screen, and it looks like Thandi's about to disappear, so we're going to send you across to Steve, who's got a beautiful sunset shot.
Thanks, Scotty. So amazing you're able to spend such awesome time with that cub, and I'd love to see her dragging a kill. Must have been something. I'm going to have to go back and watch the replay. And here we have a daily occurrence, the sun setting in the west. Because the day is so warm, we've got a huge build-up of cloud on the escarpment there. You can see the clouds building up, so it's probably going to rain somewhere in the low veld or even in the high veld tonight. And we're hoping maybe some of that will come down and quench our dry soil. We know we need some more. So just a moment with that sun. We are back up in the north, almost about to find the Nkuhumas again, see if they are being active. Let's move on into the area. Ooh, Sinak wants to know if magnetic, do you mean electric storms, Sinak, have any impact on the animals? I've never really noticed. I mean, you see lions don't do much in a lightning storm. They just sort of hunker down under the tree, and most animals will just stand in place or sit down on a dry bit of ground in high thunderstorms. But thunderstorms are very, very normal for these areas. This area is a rainfall in the summer dominated area, and lightning comes with that. So these animals have all evolved with it, so I think they're quite used to it. But what happened with Noel last month, or was it the month before, we had an electric storm, and actually a daycare got nailed by a lightning strike that hit a tree. And there was an article posted by Londolozi, was it Mala? Londolozi did an article, and they had hippos, actually got, it was hippos? Yeah, hippos, a few of them got nailed by lightning. They'd been in a little dam. So, but somehow the crocodiles didn't. So my thoughts is the crocodiles, being such ancient beings, were able to move out knowing that the storm was coming, and they were untouched by the lightning. But 2 or 3, I think, hippos were actually electrocuted completely inside that dam. So other than the potential of lightning striking the animal and killing them, Sinak, I don't think that they have too much in the way of fear. I know domestic dogs don't like lightning. I think a lot of that's got to do with the noise. So, yeah, I'm not too sure otherwise. Like for myself, I grew up in Johannesburg, so lightning storms for me are quite natural. Whereas other human beings who haven't grown up in an area with lightning tend to struggle quite a bit with the sound. So, we are nearly in the last position of the Nkuhumas. Hopefully they have not moved anywhere. And let's go to Brent for an update.
Well, yes, lightning storms can be quite spectacular in parts of Africa. We've had some really big ones up in the Mara. But I think the most impressive lightning storm I've ever seen was in the northern Kafue in Zambia. And we're in an area called Busanga, which is a big open swampland. During the wet season and during the dry season, it becomes a very productive grassland. And we were watching a group of buffalo bulls, and one of them actually got struck by lightning while we were watching it. It was quite scary. But yes, the lightning is very scary. Now, I know quite a long time earlier we were talking about baby elephants and whether, if they ever... Nikki also would like to know what happened. Yes, the buffalo died when it got hit with more than 1 million volts of electricity. It actually started cooking, and it smelt quite horrible. It was not a pleasant smell either. Half-cooked buffalo. Well, it depends if you like your steak blue, but yes. So, unfortunately, that was the end of that buffalo. Giraffe get hit by lightning relatively often. We actually had one on the reserve where my parents are not so long ago. They got struck by lightning, and in the Mara actually giraffe gets struck by lightning more often than in other places. The big grasslands, it tends to be more likely. But we're chatting about baby elephants, where they ever get abandoned, and unfortunately they do. And the most common times I've seen them abandoned is during very dry times, and in particular in big elephant populations like Botswana. At northern Botswana, you find them abandoned quite often, and in Kruger, you get abandoned elephant calves. Sometimes the mothers are unable to produce milk. Sometimes the mothers, I've seen mothers that just don't like their babies, and just sort of after birth just walk away and leave them. So it is not that common, but it does happen that they do get abandoned from time to time. Whoop, nearly lost my hat. There was a Franklin. It sounded a little bit more upset than normal. It could have been calling at this time of the day over the car. I just want to see if it makes another noise. So we're in the area behind Gallagher here, so Tumba could be anywhere within this area. No, Franklin's kept quiet. Sorry, Nikki, can you send me that question again, please? A very, very good question by Donald. There's a low felt, there's a high felt, is there a medium felt? No, Donald, but there's a middle felt. So I suppose you could get away with calling it medium felt. So you get quite a few different tree species that you don't get all the way down here, like cabbage trees, cassonias, and it's also generally very, very productive grass felt, so sweet felt. So in South Africa, the majority of the middle felt in most parts of South Africa is actually under cattle or dairy farms. There are some areas where there are reserves in the middle veld, but yes, so there is a middle veld. One of the diagnostic tree species of the middle veld is one of actually my favorite acacias. It's called an Acacia sebarana, or a paperbark. You do get them in the low veld as well, and towards the high veld. But in certain parts of the middle veld, they are the predominant tree species. So on our family game farm where I grew up, it was the predominant tree species, and they're very, very beautiful. Now, one of the things that we used to love most about them as... Oh, there's a lion tracks. I'm sure those must have been the Nkuhumas yesterday, or the day before. But we used to love about the Acacia sebaranas as kids. So it had that paper bark, a very flaky bark, but much thicker than the exuvialis, or the flaky thorn that we get here. And when you used to do burning, so controlled burns on the farm, most trees are pretty resilient when it comes to fire. So as the fire passes, it used to burn these outer edges of the paper bark. And as little boys, the best thing about them, and it drove my mother absolutely nuts, was that it was the perfect camouflage paint. So basically you used to pull the burnt pieces of paper bark off and rub it all over your face, so you were camouflaged. So, and then that pretty much got on all your clothes, in your hair, everywhere, and apparently to get it off was somewhat of a challenge, but I think probably not the washing itself. It was probably the squirming of a 4-year-old Dylan and 6-year-old Brent trying to escape bath time. And I mean, I used to climb to the top of the water tanks to try to get away from bath at bath time, and used to try stay out till it was dark rather than go back home. I used to hide also in the horse stables. I used to hide on the roofs of the sheds, anywhere I could. Yes, it was. We were lots of fun we had on the Sibaranas. They're also really great to climb. But speaking of something else that likes climbing, let's go back to those leopards with Scott.
Well, that's an interesting story about Brent avoiding his bath time. Little terrorist. Interesting stuff. And not too sure where the little cub is. Blessings. Whew. That sneeze took a while to fully load there, so I kept quiet for so long. I'm not too sure where the little cub is, but I'm hoping it's going to pop back onto the scene. Paula, you'd like to know how much milk does the cub get from Thandi at the moment? And I'm not entirely sure. Oh, as soon as I spotted the cub, yeah, you can just see an ear twitching there, Sens. Well done. Just one ear of the cub. And I'm actually not too sure. I think it'll depend on how lucky she's been with, kills. If she hasn't made a kill for a long time, then obviously the cub will need some kind of nutrition, which she may give to it in the form of milk. But with regards to actually how much milk they get, I've got not the faintest idea. I think at the moment it's probably, and this is just a guess, that she's probably kind of getting half her nutrition from meat and half her nutrition from milk. But to be honest, the last few weeks we haven't really actually spent too much time with them, so I've got no first-hand knowledge on what's been going on with them recently. Very good. Well, we're going to stay put here. I'm hoping these leopards get a little bit more active and that the cub gets playful. And while we wait for that, we're going to send you across to Steve, who I'm sure is wanting the same thing from his lions.
Thank you, Scotty. Yes, all we would like is a little bit of action from our cats this afternoon. I did have a lot of time with them this morning, and they were playing and jumping in the tree, which was marvelous. But here they are, doing what lions do best, flat. We are just next to a termite mound with lots of little holes in it, just left of us here. The lions have been lying here probably from when we left an hour or so ago. And Craig has spotted a dwarf mongoose who pops his head out every now and again, and he's probably completely terrified that there are an entire pride of lions surrounding his home. Surely the lions won't get in there, but the mongoose just pops his head out, and now there's this vehicle with human beings on it. I think he thinks the whole world has come to an end. So from the smallest carnivore we have here on the African plains to the largest. At least the mongoose is a little bit more active, although he is hiding in his burrow, not even making a noise, lest they attract the attention of these big hairy lions. We saw what one did to a hare this morning. Those of you who are watching, if you weren't with us, one of the youngsters of the pride managed to, as the pride was moving out of the dam line area, it moved into a small little buffalo thorn bush, and I thought it was just being silly until it made a funny noise. I thought it was then fighting with another one, and then it came out with a scrub hare in its jaws, which was marvelous. We went down into the river and watched it eat, and it quickly stopped looking like a scrub hare. It looked like a ball of something. But we saw the lion eat its head and its feet and left absolutely nothing behind. And it was such interesting behavior. Poor dwarf mongoose. Yes, Rain Ranko, poor dwarf mongoose. Indeed. But what I found super amazing... Yes, okay. So, before we talk more about these lions, I believe Brent has got something quite special down in Djuma.
Yes, we do. We're about to be less than a meter away from elephants. We have elephants all around us. Look at this. So there's the side of the car, and you can see they're very relaxed, munching on the grass. Hey you. Look at that. Here we go. That is pretty much as close as you can get to an elephant. That's Seb's hand there. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that absolutely incredible? Now, it is very, very special to spend time with Ellies like this. And you can see they're not showing any signs of aggression whatsoever. We've let them come towards us. We've parked away from them, so we haven't forced ourselves into their space. We've let the elephants come, and they're going to carry on walking right past us. And Here we go. But watch out, you might get flicked by the tail there, Sebastian. Ravinda says, wow, too close for comfort. Well, Ravinda, depends on the elephants always, and these elephants, before we got to them, they showed no signs of being upset or whatnot. And if you stay calm, the elephants will come right up to you like this, and you can see she's got no interest in us whatsoever. She knows we're here. She can hear me talking. And as long as you drive carefully and respectfully, you can enjoy these incredible moments with elephants. However, if you are not experienced at dealing with elephants in a vehicle, and you're driving yourself around a reserve, yes, by all means you should keep your distance, rather than getting too close, because obviously we've been doing this for a very long time. I've been doing this, well, with my dad since I was about 4 years old. My earliest memory is actually of elephants, so I'm being very spoiled. Have they moved away that I can move the car? Yes. I just want to go forward. There's a tiny little baby who's been quite cute. There we go. There we go. Lady Starfire would like to know how much I missed the elephants of Djuma. A lot. It is wonderful to see the low-felt elephants again. Oh, he's disappeared. Of course. Murphy's Law, as soon as you try to get him on camera, he's going to go hide in the round leaf teak. Keeping a close eye on us, but not wanting to get too far away from Mom. Bree is wondering, could we feel the air from their ears flapping? There's a bit of a breeze, so I'm not sure. Did you feel it, Sebastian? No, not really. No. But I have often felt an elephant's breath from its trunk when we've been close to them before, especially when they pop their nose up to have a smell of the vehicles, which they do from time to time, and you get a blast of hot air, which is sometimes not so welcome when it's very hot here in the Lowveld. But it is always special to spend time with Ellies, wherever you might be in the world. Okay, well, I'm going to send you back to the lions. I'm going to take one last gamble at Tumba around the Djuma Dam. So let's go see what the lions are up to.
Can you just see the little ear there? There it is. Let's see if we can see his face. It's a little dwarf mongoose. He's absolutely terrified. You just see his ear. How cute is that? There we go. There's the nose. It's too much. That's as much as it wants to put out. We might hear a helicopter in the background. It is quite prominent with the anti-poaching patrols that happen in the Kruger. You're not far from the boundary of Kruger there. So if that's, you hear a helicopter, I apologize for that. Can you give me that name again, please, Nix? Broth. Hello, sir. Or ma'am, I'm not sure. How are we not in danger with the lions so close? The lions are very aware that we are a unit in a box. They don't see us as food. I explained a little bit this morning that lions aren't intelligent. They are instinctive, and they have evolved on the landscape, the savanna landscape, with the bipedal man walking as we do, and they have a fear of us on foot during the day because we, for many, many, many years, have hunted and chased and competed with them. At night, it's a very different story. But then along 60, 70 years ago, along came a vehicle that smells of diesel, or in the case of this, smells of petrol. And it makes a noise. It smells very different from any man they've ever smelt. And we look very different from any man they've ever seen. And so they got used to the vehicle. But it took a long time for that to happen. It didn't happen overnight. And once the adults are relaxed to the vehicle, the cubs very, very quickly become used to it. It's the same as with the leopards. They get what we call habituated, but by no means, Broth, are these animals tame or completely relaxed to people. They see us as a box. I can't explain it better than that. If I had to open my door, not that I have a door on my side, but I'm on the opposite side of the vehicle, if I had to open or get out and walk, I would die. I could potentially die. Okay, so don't ever think that, oh, these are tame lions, let me go and quickly scratch their tummy or have a little tap. Well, I would probably die and I'd be eaten alive, so I would not do that. It is a misconception that people think these things are tame, but by no means are they. If I was further away and it was daytime and I walked from my car, they probably would run away from me. But because we are so close, we're about 8 yards, maybe even less than that, 6, 7 yards away from these lions. If I had to step out the car now into that zone, they would have to defend themselves or run away. And because I'm so close, the chances are they'd more likely defend themselves. And once they attacked me through defense, they would get the blood of me in their nose, and then it would just become a feeding frenzy. And then that would be the end of my safari life career. But thankfully, I have not done that in years, and I don't intend to do it. Giraffe girl, you just want to come and tickle that belly of the lion, don't you? Yes, this is very de-stressing. They have got not a worry in the world. I wish if everyone out there could realize that life is as simple as that. You know, we just need to eat, do a bit of cleaning and grooming and sort of socializing with our family, and then the rest of the day we just rest and take it easy, do what we need to do, spend some time on your back or with your head on your friend's bottom, however you'd like to spend your day. I think lions make us realize that life is not that complicated. We make it very complicated. They just sleep, get up, move, drink, hunt, groom, sleep some more, and so on. So, Giraffe girl, I'm glad that these lions are de-stressing you, and I'm glad we can bring you these pictures all the way to your home, wherever you may be. Okay, so while we have these cats lying flat, let's go over to Scotty Dice and hopefully he's got some action with Thandi.
Sadly, not too much going on here, but again, just thinking about what Steve said and the good state that both the lion and the leopard are in here, and they don't seem to have a worry in the world. I wonder if the lions are going to come this way this evening. There's a chance that they might. They are not far away at all. I'd say about a quarter of a mile from here. Maybe half a mile is where Steve is currently. So they could well slink past, and wouldn't it be nice to know the closest encounters that this leopardess and her cub have experienced in this little cub's life? I'm sure there must have been some close calls already. I remember one morning this mother we are looking at made a very clever move, and she decided to abandon an area where she actually had not one but 2 kills up a tree, and they'd fed on it for 2 nights. I think maybe it was two or 3 nights. I mean, forgive me for not having the exact stats, but it got to a point when she woke up one morning that she thought, you know what, we've been here too long. There have been too many lions in the general area. I am taking my baby away from this food because it could well attract some danger. And later that same very morning, a massive male lion came across the kill. They were both up in a tree. The male lion had to climb the tree to get to the kills. And that's a kind of a good example of her doing the right thing as a mother. But you wonder how many close calls there have been. Amy, you would like to know how much meat can a cub squeeze into its little belly at this age? In one sitting, sheesh, I wonder. 500 grams would be my guess, but I don't know exactly. And again, you know, there'll be variables, because if it's like really hungry and it hasn't had a decent meal for a while, it might be able to jam quite a lot of food into its belly. Whereas how we saw it feeding tonight, when it's already kind of full from the previous meal, it's not going to be able to consume as much when they're kind of dining on a slightly bigger kill. So I guess it depends on when last they fed and whether it's their first feeding session on a singular kill. I wish the little cub would poke its head out, but it seems like it's just lying in the grass and probably just digesting what it did feed on a bit earlier. Patrick, you would like to know if cubs will come back to visit their mothers after independence. And yes, I have seen it happen before, but I'm not sure if they're wanting to visit their mother or if they're wanting to visit their mother's pantry. There's a bit of a difference there. There was a young male when I first started my career in the south of the Sabi Sands who was kicked out at kind of the normal age, 18, 20 months, but he just wouldn't take no for an answer, and he just kept pestering his mother and following her, and he would often just kind of hear her call and then go running onto the scene, or just kind of know where she might be and just follow her non-stop until she made a kill, knowing that he would be able to then feed on it. And interestingly, that same leopardess had 2 cubs from her new litter. So what would happen is she would go off hunting and she would leave this big male, I mean bigger than her, with the 2 little cubs, kind of like a bodyguard, I guess, in a way, but a hungry bodyguard. She would go off hunting, come back to call the cubs, who obviously needs to go and feed, and the young boy would get to go along too. So that happened for quite some time. We even had a sighting when the father and the son and the 2 small babies and the mother were all kind of together, 5 leopards in one scene, which was something I will never forget. But yeah, it doesn't happen too much. I think they do come across one another, but it's not usually like big hugs and joy that they're seeing one another. More often than not, I'm guessing that the adult will be quite frustrated because it means they're going to have to share their meal, and yeah. So it does happen, but it's not like a joyous occasion where they're all happy and excited to see one another, not at least in my experience. Alrighty then. Well, it seems like we're going to be sending you from one sleeping cat to many sleeping cats with Steve.
Welcome back to our pile of lions. And that youngster just had a little yawn. It is such hard work being a lion, ladies and gentlemen. We've just been lying here for 2 days without moving. Very, very hard work. Oh, another yawn. Oh, this is terrible. How hard is our life? I have no doubt they will get up at some point of this evening and be off on a hunt. It's going to be a very dark night. The moon is only going to rise very, very late. And I think they've probably taken the last 2 days to digest the buffalo that they had, and they're probably starting to get a little bit of hunger pains. The one youngster who had the 3 kilogram scrub hair this morning is probably doing all right, but the rest of them were probably in the need of a little bit of a snack. They can go for about 2 weeks without eating, but they don't choose to do that. That's just in times of abundance, or lack of abundance of prey animals, should I say. But I don't think they're going to do much in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. But who knows? This is live. We cannot predict what could happen. The dwarf mongoose might come out and chase the lions off. Now, I'm pretty sure that won't happen. But you never know what could happen live in the bush. Fluffy the bunny. Hello. What an interesting name. What color is the lion's skin? I believe it is black. I think so. I mean, you look at the nipple of the females are black, and then the nose around the edges, and then around the lips as well. And that is, I was told the other day, which is very interesting, around the lips, it's for the blackness is for the melanin, to protect their lips when they're fighting and when they're feeding, and sharp bones. But I've never physically shaved a lion down to see the skin underneath. But most dogs and cats, I think, I've got quite dark skin. But then I could be mistaken. Does anybody else out there know what color the lion's skin is? Hashtag Safari Live. Okay, but please send through that comment if you do know, because it is time for myself and Craig to say good night to you. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early for another safari. We're going to go back over for the final words from Scott and his amazing Thandi.
Yes, it's sadly the end of the safari. Well, not quite, but almost. And just like Steve said goodbye, so too shall I. Thank you very much for joining us, and I look forward to the adventures tomorrow. Over to Brent for the last few moments.
Well, what a wonderful first drive back in the sweltering Sabi sands this afternoon. It has been great to be back, and lovely to have Sebastian from Gabon on the back with us. And unfortunately we didn't find too many kitty cats, but there's always tomorrow, so it'll be quite exciting. And I always do love the mornings, get out there when it's nice and cool, get onto the fresh track, sunrise. Oh, so much of excitement. So we'll be looking forward to that. So of course in a few short hours, nightjar. Let's go forward a little bit. Is it a nightjar? No, I think it's actually not. I think it's... I'm going to have to use a spotlight. But just remember, guys, the times have changed. We'll be going... It's white-crowned shrikes. That's what it is. That's what they are. White-crowned shrikes. Nice little flock of southern white-crowned shrikes. A bit different from what we saw in the Mara, which were northern white-crowned shrikes. So remember, it is going to be, Nikki, correct me, half an hour earlier tomorrow morning. Half an hour later than it was. And then obviously half an hour earlier in the afternoon. But from all of us here at Safari Live, it's been absolutely splendid. And hopefully I'll be able to produce some big cats tomorrow morning. I think I might take a dabble at some leopards. Saw lots of lions in the Mara, so it'll be quite fun to spend some time with leopards, extended time. So from all of us, again, here, good night, bonne nuit, adieu, see you in the morning.